René started as an entrepreneur. He's built a startup, which he later sold. Stayed entrepreneur at heart and got a small job as leading one of the world's biggest telcos, namely Deutsche Telekom, managing 240,000 people. He then continued to heading Warburg Pincus Europe and has a, I don't call it maybe hobby, as a non-executive chairman of Airbus. And René, thank you. Thank you for being with us.
Sure, it's my, 17th time?
More or less, yeah.
And when we started this, we thought, great idea, German companies start working together with Israeli firms because technology and innovation comes from here. German companies are slow moving, so they can, work together with Israeli companies. And what happened? Life is in the US, and I dare to say there's life outside of the US. Please come to Germany and come to Europe more. So far, it's not really satisfying.
Exactly. René, by the way, has been a big fan of Israel. He understands as entrepreneur the spirit here. He's the one who initiated the Deutsche Telekom Corporation with the Ben Gurion Labs and their cyber center, which is basically why the state of Israel chose Beersheba as a cyber hub, is through the initiative that René led at Deutsche Telekom. And now moving, we discussed crisis before and opportunity, and the chairman of a small airline company finds himself around 2 years ago with no market, just like this. René, can you share what was like one or two most, I would say, difficult things to handle with when you're suddenly out of a market?
Well, that's pretty much the right description, because you couldn't even deliver a plane, right? All of a sudden, everything stalled. And so we thought what has to happen first, and the very first thing is to secure liquidity. So we pulled all levers to ensure that we had liquidity to be able to survive this situation for as long as possible. And we kind of collected everything we had, got to more than 30 billion of liquidity. And in the first half year of 2020, so exactly 3 years ago, we lost more than 12 billion and of cash. So it could have been an existential crisis. The second thing is because in aviation, it's fairly when you build planes, it's a fairly small number of planes. So you can't have multiple or many suppliers per part, because all these suppliers would be certified. So the supply chain, consisting of thousands of important suppliers, is key. And so we try to establish a monitoring system in order to see what's going on the supply chain and how to help rescue or to keep afloat all the key suppliers of ours. And then the whole way of working has to change. You need to communicate a hell of a lot, and our CEO was really brilliant in that time. He kept the entire organization informed about what has to be prioritized and why. We managed to bring our costs down, so eventually we could manage to live profitably at 70% of production a bit later, because of the work management has accomplished in that time. So it's a mix of different factors, but perhaps the most important thing is confront yourself with the brutal facts right up front, see what could happen, establish a communication which is much more frequent, very transparent, engage with the key stakeholders, in this case also the states, because we got their help in some ways, for instance with furlough schemes, so we could safeguard all the good and qualified people, which was essential. Now we are ramping up, and the biggest issue is, is the number of people we could keep in the company. So we're very happy we could keep all the people.
Thank you, René. So, guys, entrepreneurs, this applies to you as well. It doesn't matter what size your company is, but these are things you need to do when you come into crisis. Now,
Actually, if I may add
Sure.
something, it's very important to use the good days to prepare for crisis, because as you see, the world is going from crisis to crisis, and therefore, in the good days, have a plan B, contingency planning for liquidity, because what always happens in every crisis, be it a financial crisis or be it a pandemic, all of a sudden, cash which was available, excessively before, all of a sudden can drain out. And then it's important to have, to be able to pull all the levers and be prepared for such a situation.
and then we faced, after energy crisis, Ukraine war, came the financial crisis. And what did you advise your portfolio at Warburg Pincus once things started going off again?
I mean, basically the whole story again. Check all your abilities to pull all the levers on liquidity. For instance, renegotiate with your lenders the terms, i.e., turn or pick your loans as opposed, payment in kind, pick your loans as opposed to continuously paying interest, turn interest into longer term liabilities, delay non-essential payments if you can, and make sure that you cut costs where possible and go into hibernation mode. I.e., I have a great example for that. It's a German company you may or may not be familiar with, Berlin-based, called Get Your Guide. They have about, I think, 800 people or so. I don't want to talk for them, but I think they were one of the best examples of how a company, they're selling travel experiences, they organize travel experiences in a very, great way, but all of a sudden their business came to a halt. And they managed to their costs in an extremely good way immediately, and they managed to survive. So there are very good examples of companies who are capable to go into hibernation mode from one day to another. And I think since the world is going into these shorter and shorter cycles of crises, we all have to develop certain skills in doing that, particularly when we are not cash rich and not yet profitable.
And you gave a line before about the US, which was...
Oh, yeah, I think there's life outside of the US. So I'm trying to make another, I think it's my 17th or 18th appeal in similar formats like this, from Garage Geeks to Europe Days. Come to Germany, help us, teach us in AI, because our company is asleep, okay? So really asleep. I've had a great, couple of meetings yesterday. I met folks like Ilan or so who's doing yet another startup at the moment. And the knowledge, the deep expertise, but also the spirit which you guys have developed over the decades is something we greatly miss. We need more Israel in Germany, please. So seriously, there's a great market out there. Europe has 500 million people. I'm not sure you're aware of that. And countries like Germany is 80 million or France 60 million. It's worthwhile making more efforts. Everything you do always goes to the US first. I'm tired of that. Seriously, here we are. Come and see us, please.
So who's going to Europe now? Give me
right now. Call
that's
us.
It? After, come on, give us more. Really?
No, I'm serious.
Thank you.
I am
Good.
serious. Europe is asleep in many sectors, including education, including sustainability. Even though we're pretending to wake up, it's taking too much time. And for instance, the deployment of AI, I don't think we've even understood that we have entered a new world. And so help us, teach us, from cyber to AI deployment. We're very open.
So René, you mentioned cybersecurity, AI, sustainability, edtech. Is any other domain sectors you see there's potential for Israeli entrepreneurs targeting Europe?
Probably harder to find a sector where there is no potential. But for instance, if you're in healthcare or in healthcare services or in healthcare infrastructure, the door is wide open. I mean, as you know, or you may not know, Germany in particular has a demographic issue. Our healthcare system is, tanking if we keep going like we do. It's already absorbing 400 plus billion euros. And the number is only going up, and the service quality is going down, and the number of people who are working has gone down. So we do need technology to help to be part of the solution here. And you guys have great companies already in the space. Again, I mean, I can repeat my invitation.
Thank you. Questions from the audience? Anyone wants to ask?
Or maybe in education still, if some of you guys is working in education, AI will change the way we educate our kids from frontal, stereotypic, kind of stupid, monolithical teaching to individualized, tailor-made education. You know, do the right thing per kid so the kid learns better and more effectively. Anybody offers any solution, let me know, please.
Questions from the audience? We can continue our conversation if you don't ask anything. None.
I was too boring. I tried
Yeah,
best. I tried my best. What's that?
Pick up.
You are planning a trip to Germany?
We have 2 clients in the back.
We'll
Okay.
cook. We'll cook good food for you. Yeah, come and see us. Berlin is nice. It's worthwhile a trip. Who has not made it to Berlin yet? Anybody here has not been to Berlin? Seriously? Oh wow. Oh wow.
Okay. What about, can we include other countries apart from Germany?
Let's start in Germany.
Okay.
No, France is also interesting.
Here.
France is also it's an interesting country. It's a little difficult to reform, as we currently see, because Paris has been burning over the last couple of days because of 2 years prolongation of the pension reform. So they want to go up from 62 to 64, and that caused the streets to burn. So it's a little hard to reform, but it's a good and more innovative country than Germany these days, I would say even. It's a good leadership there.
See, I don't see any Austrian or Swiss jumping up at these statements. Any Swiss person here wants to say something in favor of Switzerland?
Any Swiss person in the finance
or
sector?
Austria? Anyone? Austria? Please, sir. What do you have to say in favor of Austria?
Same language.
Say yes. I mean, actually, I can only add what René said, right? I mean, come over. We need more Israel also in Austria, in general. I think more than, as I said before, more than welcome to visit us, to see us, to connect, and eventually, you know, we can do something together. Definitely, here is a great hub for innovation that is still lacking in Austria and Germany, and I do not dare to speak for Switzerland, of course.
Okay. And there was someone in the back who wanted to ask a question. Yeah, go ahead. But speak up, really, shout.
I'm from the healthcare industry, medical devices. So, what's your thoughts about the work processes with Germany? So, my experience. So, I started processes in Germany, and the flow is really slow. So I switched.
Yes.
And went. I thought the biggest market
Is this
in Europe.
do you want an answer?
No, just
No.
I will complete.
Let us give you an
No,
answer.
but he's right. He's right. He's right. Please keep going.
So I switched. I thought the biggest market will be the first to launch, and I switched to Italy because they are quicker. The market similar, but they are quicker. So what's your thoughts about how to approach and maybe speed up the work processes?
Well, obviously, the healthcare sector is highly regulated. That's for sure, and therefore some of the processes get permission. I don't know what you were specifically referring to, but you know, most.
Medical device, hospital, distribution channels.
Yeah. Yeah. When you say process, you mean regulation, do you?
We have regulation, the processes of decision making.
Oh, from your customer side, for instance. Well, then I think you may want to talk to different customers, because there's a variety of customers. There's obviously public owned, for instance, hospitals, but there's also an increasing number of privately owned hospitals and so-called MVZs, medical, like holistic medical centers with a number of practices along the treatment path of patients. They are privately owned. For instance, you know, EQT owns chains. We own a radiation, my Warburg Pincus business. We do a lot of healthcare stuff both in US and also in Europe now. So there's privately owned chains and there are privately owned customers for yours you may want to talk to. If, for instance, you're in radiation and radiotherapy, talk to us.
I'm in
Yeah, please. I mean, we definitely can connect you. That's for sure, and I pledge to connect you with the right folks. All right.
So thank you very much. Thank you, René. Always a pleasure. And
It's not often enough. Yeah. So again, Berlin.